Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 most underrated video games of all time.
I'm fine, Paige. I'm fine. Still no power?
For this list, we'll be looking at some of the most underappreciated games that deserve more recognition. If there's an overlooked game we somehow looked over, help us out and tell us in the comments. Number 10. Enslaved: Odyssey to the West.
That's the deal. Get me back to my home and you can go back to yours.
Loosely based around the famed Chinese novel Journey to the West, Enslaved has you play as Monkey, a man bound to a woman determined to return to her village in a post-apocalyptic world. The setting is far more vibrant than most games with similar environments. The story is engaging and the performances are fantastic. While the combat isn't the strongest and it's a pretty short game, it's still enjoyable and it holds up well. Enslaved could have been the next big thing when it was released, but it was tragically overshadowed or ignored. Thankfully, it's readily available now, so you can find out what you and everyone else missed out on. Number 9. Space Station Silicon Valley. Set aboard the titular space station, Space Station Silicon Valley has players control a microchip robot named Evo as you take control of the various mechanical animals aboard to solve puzzles and complete objectives. Each animal has unique abilities that let you perform different attacks or actions, which, along with the various environments, helps keep the game fresh throughout. Add in a quirky soundtrack and plenty of British humor, and you've got a certified hidden gem that feels like a forerunner to a certain modern title that also takes players on a space odyssey controlling your foes. Number 8. Psi-ops: The Mindgate Conspiracy. Psychic powers are a frequent staple of video games, but getting them just right can be difficult. Psi-ops: The Mindgate Conspiracy found the perfect variety, with telekinesis, pyrokinesis, remote viewing, and more at your disposal. Sure, these powers are found in a pretty standard shooter otherwise, but the story at least has a cheesy action movie vibe to it. Psi-ops ends on a cliffhanger that could have set up a franchise, but given that its release coincided with other huge titles on the PS2 and Xbox, the abilities and physics it showcased unfortunately blended into the background. Number 7. ModNation Racers.
Who's your favorite uncle? I am. Because I'm gonna make you rich, like me, Uncle Richard.
The kart racing genre has several big names that dominate attention, so it's no surprise that ModNation Racers went unnoticed. Even so, it's still a shame that more people don't know about it, since it's one of the few to go as in-depth with one crucial aspect: customization. True to its title, ModNation Racers lets you modify everything from your racers to your vehicles to your racetracks. The depth and variety this gives the game is truly impressive. Plus, the upgradable weapons, drifting, and all-round sense of fun make it a true hidden gem everyone should take for a spin. Number 6. Skies of Arcadia. It's a game about sky pirates. How this didn't become a blockbuster franchise is truly baffling. Skies of Arcadia is a wonderfully inventive RPG with an exciting world of aerial lands to explore. The turn-based combat may be fairly standard, but it has enough of its own flair to be interesting. The story and characters lend themselves well to the overall sense of freedom and adventure that the game exudes. Unfortunately, one of the reasons Skies of Arcadia flew under so many people's radars is that it was released for only 2 relatively underplayed systems, making any copies you can get your hands on more valuable than buried treasure. Number 5. Power Stone. Dreamcast titles in general tend to be underrated, but Power Stone is arguably the game to get it the worst. Sure, it got a sequel, an anime, and has spawned some spiritual successors, but most people have never heard of it. Power Stone is a 3D arena battle game with a 19th century setting. Collecting 3 of the titular objects during a match will power up whoever collects them for a limited time. As an arcade-style party fighting game, it's an absolute blast. Playing the original version can be a tall order, but like any precious stone, Power Stone can be worth a lot. Number 4. Mischief Makers. We have to shake our heads at anyone who didn't give Mischief Makers a chance when it was released. This 2.5D platformer follows Marina Lightyears, an android maid, as she explores planet Clancer in search of her creator. The gameplay is centered around shaking everything Marina can get her hands on, from objects to enemies, and it has a great balance between combat and puzzles. Featuring a haunting anime aesthetic and a catchy soundtrack, Mischief Maker is a game it's tragic to see hasn't bothered more people, because it's certainly worth the trouble. Number 3. Splosion Man. Despite featuring a protagonist that literally explodes, Splosion Man's impact on the games industry is really more of a fizzle. And that's a shame, since it's a fun and unique platformer with a ton of content that will blow you away. Featuring both a single-player and co-op campaign, Splosion Man had a surprisingly high yield for an Xbox Live Arcade game. While the hyperactive, random sense of humor throughout may not be for everyone, Splosion Man is still an absolute blast to play solo or with some friends. Number 2. Beyond Good and Evil.
Ouch! Not me, Flagnamet!
Although the game has a long-awaited prequel and even a movie in the works, Beyond Good and Evil was beyond a failure commercially when it was released, despite high praise from critics. Developed by the same creator as Rayman, the game follows Jade, a journalist exposing an alien plot. Packed with gameplay variety, Beyond Good and Evil is one of the first games to feature more interactivity with partner characters. With its fantastic setting, engrossing story, and gameplay ahead of its time, it's no wonder Beyond Good and Evil became a cult favorite.
We're gonna be able to pay to get the hovercraft fixed with that.
Hey, Secundo, scan this for me, will ya?
Okay, Yates.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Jet Force Gemini. Space shooters were all the rage at the turn of the millennium, and now, so the fact that Jet Force Gemini didn't stand out as much as it should have is shocking. Made by the ever-reliable Rare for the Nintendo 64, Jet Force Gemini gives players control of a duo of space heroes and their dog as they take on an evil insectoid empire. A blend of a shooter and an adventure game, it takes cues from Metroid and other space adventure stories from movies and TV, and creates a great experience that ought to have spawned its own franchise. I mean, where else can you play as a hover dog with a gun turret on his back that can become a tank? Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.